The following program is brought to you by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. The League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan organization established to encourage citizen participation in government. It never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. The statements and opinions of the candidates are presented in the interest of public service and in no way are to be construed as endorsement thereof by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters takes no responsibility for any of the views or facts stated by the candidates.
Good evening, and welcome to this forum for West Bloomfield Township election. Today is July 19, 2016. This forum will be featuring those candidates who have filed for trustee for the Township of West Bloomfield. Sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Jerry Burton, President of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this township. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate or political party, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keeps our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have an opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you're interested in learning how you can become and make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available here tonight or visit our website at lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters does not support any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask that the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices. We ask the candidates answer the questions with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by John McGarry, a League member. Pages will be circulating with pencil and paper for your questions. Please raise your hand. We'll get you a card. You can write your questions out. The format is follows. We begin with the 1-minute opening statement in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question unless the time is extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer the questions. Our timer, Judy Bateman, will indicate when time is up. The candidates for trustee are Paul Karmo, Jim Manna, Howard Rosenberg, Diane Rosenfeld Schwimmer, and Johnathan Warshay. Also on the ballot, but not here tonight, is Don Perry, Sheila Siegel Weissman, Patty Richie, and Igor Shpunt. We will begin our opening statements with Mr. Karmo.
Thank you, Jerry. By way of introduction, my name is Paul Karmo. I'm 29 years old. I've lived in the township since I was 4 in the same home. I went to Green School, Chico Elementary, and Abbott Middle School. I worked here at the library all through high school. I graduated from Wayne State University Law School in 2014, and I'm currently a prosecutor for Wayne County. And I was elected to the Parks and Recreation Board in 2012, where I've been serving in that capacity since then as chairman of the Strategic Planning Committee. My experience with the Parks and Recreation Board, my good relationships with the current Township Board, my good relationships with the community, my sense of reason, collegiality, and respect for all members of the community, for all members of the board, are what I bring and what I hope to bring to the board. If you allow me, if you entrust me with your vote, I can guarantee you that I will put you first and personal biases and personal issues second. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manna.
Good evening. I'm Jim Manna, and you've probably seen my signs. That just goes to show you how badly I want this job. I've been serving you for the past 7 years, and most currently as the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. I've represented you to enhance and grow West Bloomfield as a welcoming multicultural community. I want to mention 3 things. 1, senior citizens. 2, Orchard Lake Gateway and Corridor. And 3, township employee morale. Senior citizens, it's important for West Bloomfield to be a community for life. I will support aging in place, affordable housing, and a senior community center. The Orchard Lake Gate Corridor, I will work to achieve the right mix of retail, office, and will amplify environmental features, pathways, and walkways for all to share and enjoy. And then 3rd, township employee morale. The quality of public services depends on Township Hall morale. I will respect state law and my role as a part-time trustee by not micromanaging daily township business and instead focusing on policy, fiscal responsibility, and respecting and appreciating our employees. My hallmark will be a harmonious relationship with employees and fellow board members. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Jerry. Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. This is a wonderful way for the residents of the community to meet the candidates and get to know them outside of the regular campaign. I'm Howard Rosenberg. My wife and I have lived in the township for 32 years. We've raised both our daughters in the township, and they attended the West Bloomfield public school system. I've always been active in the community, either by volunteering with the schools or with the Optimist Club. I was elected to the Parks and Rec Commission in 2004 and to the Township Board in 2008. I'm just completing my 2nd term in office on the board, and I believe I've always been a responsible, respectful, and responsive member to the needs of the community. I've done my best to be a positive member of the board, and I've helped in many ways improve the township for the benefit of the residents. I look forward to continuing to serve you as a neighborhood representative on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
Good evening. I'm Diane Rosenfeld, Schwimmer, and I've been a proud 43-year resident of this beautiful township. I've raised my 3 boys here, and most of my family still live in this township. I've had the honor to serve as your trustee for almost 4 years, and as your current trustee, I have worked very hard, paying very close attention to every last detail in being a team player. I have never come to the board table unprepared. Each and every vote, I have done my homework, and I've spent days, hours, days, and multiple days sometimes going over the pros and cons. I am also on the Personnel Committee, Election Committee, liaison to the Board of Trustees for the Environmental Board, and I have been a registered nurse on the same unit for 20 years at Beaumont. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warshay.
Good evening. I have the shortest residence here in West Bloomfield compared to the rest of the field. 6 years ago, I met the love of my life and moved to West Bloomfield, and since then I've fallen in love with the community. I've immersed myself in the life of the community. I currently serve as the chair of the West Bloomfield Lakes Area Democratic Club. I'm also the fundraising chair of United We Walk. And in fact, if you've seen the car magnets out, we're trying to rival Friendship Circle. Not sure we're going to get there, but certainly buy yours and put it next to your Friendship Circle magnet on your car as well. I also was treasurer of the Safer Committee, which supported the public safety millages that have helped keep West Bloomfield financially secure. I've supported, besides Friendship Circle, Parks and Rec as well. I'm a former Boy Scout leader. I'm an attorney, an IT analyst, and an adjunct faculty member, and I have a master's degree in business administration. And I look forward to your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. As has been league policy, any candidate who is unable to appear, we will read a written statement from them. The first statement will be from Igor Shpunt, running for West Bloomfield Trustee. Igor Shpunt is a business owner of nearly 30 years, with 2 bachelor degrees, mechanical engineering and metal technology. He immigrated to Oak Park with his beloved wife, Natasha, and 2 children, Sergei and Michael, from the former Soviet Union, Ukraine, in 1989. He moved to West Bloomfield in 1996, is a well-recognized, trusted mechanic, known for his honesty, work ethic, and superior quality. He's a loving father, hard worker, and smart decision maker. These qualities will guide his tenure as a West Bloomfield trustee. He believes that representatives must be accountable to the community first and foremost. He will listen to citizens' concerns and making decisions based on the needs of the community. He is willing to take bold action and think outside the box, but also understands the needs to protect the amazing qualities that make West Bloomfield a wonderful place to live. His top three priorities are business development, public safety, and parks and recreation. Business development, Igor will advocate for family-friendly development while also protecting the natural beauty of West Bloomfield. It is important to create safe and interesting environments for families to congregate, bond, and have fun. We'll also support entrepreneurs looking to invest in West Bloomfield. Public safety, Igor believes strongly in supporting and improving public safety in West Bloomfield. Police, fire, and first responders will always be a top priority so that West Bloomfield remains safe for families, children, and the elderly. If forced to make sacrifices in times of hardship, would not be willing to make cuts in public safety. Parks and recreation, West Bloomfield's natural beauty is one of its distinguishing features. Igor believes parks are the cornerstone to supporting healthy activities for children, families, and for strengthening the community. He will support maintaining and improving the parks and recreation system. Our second statement is from Sheila Siegel Weissman, candidate for trustee. Unable to attend tonight, I thank the League of Women Voters for reading my statement. While the trustee position is a nonpartisan one, I would like to run again nonpartisan. I'm a Republican, and I want to be candid. More of a fiscal conservative, I recall the words of Republican Abraham Lincoln, who said, "A house divided cannot stand." He was referring, of course, to our divided nation during the Civil War. Similarly, that applies to a smaller populace or municipality. And if it's to be effective, it's no secret our Board of Trustees has been divided, leading to lawsuits, poor planning, and decision-making, causing expenses to be incurred, burdening the taxpayers. I want to improve things here. I have my own business, a law firm, and as a small business owner, I know how to manage finances responsibly. As an experienced family law attorney, I negotiate complex issues and have a proven record of conflict resolution. I am prepared to overcome divisiveness, unify the board, and provide an effective service to our community. And our last one will be short, from Patty Richie. She regrets that she's unable to attend due to an illness. She wants to state that she would work very hard for the best interests of the township. That concludes the opening statements. And our first question, we'll start with Mr. Karmo. Do you support West Bloomfield participating in the Welcoming Cities Initiative?
Well, let me start by saying that when the Diversity Committee was formed, I was actually asked to be a part of that Diversity Committee. And within that committee, we studied ways. First, we studied whether or not there was any sort of bias pushing out minority groups or lack of ability for minority groups to enter into township government, enter into township employment. We looked at all those aspects, and we also provided recommendations to the township board on how to combat those barriers. And one of the things we recommended was, we knew this was on the agenda before the township, and we recommended that the township adopt it. And of course, I stand behind that recommendation. And I was disappointed to see earlier this year the mess that unfolded. And I can guarantee you that I would stand by that decision to designate us as a welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manna.
Yes. My answer is yes, but I want to make several comments about it. First of all, West Bloomfield is the epitome of the American melting pot. We have every ethnic group that you can think of in West Bloomfield. So to ask the question of, are we a welcoming community, I think West Bloomfield's been welcoming since 1833 when it first started. But the issue that came up is that Paul mentioned about this board that was brought together or group to consider any issues that had been raised in the community about some bias towards some ethnic groups. was very valid, and I think it was needed. However, I also think that all the issues that had been brought up at City Hall at the time were right around the time that we were talking about the Syrian refugee crisis. And I think that's why the room was so heated. But at the same time, I was scratching my head because I was thinking, as a realtor for the past 28 years, if I bring anybody into West Bloomfield, they can't sit there and say, well, we're not going to sell to them because they're of a certain ethnic group. So I think everybody is welcome to West Bloomfield. And we as a township don't have any say-so as to who can come or leave this township. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Mr. Rosenberg, I'd just like to remind the candidates, look at the camera. Those people out there vote for you. I don't live here, and I don't vote for you. And I've been doing these for years, and every time I ask a question, the first thing the candidate does is look over here. And I haven't voted for one of them in the last 25 years. Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. There is a lot of fear and uncertainty out there, and every week it grows and it grows. Mr. Manna was right. This issue surrounded the Syrian refugees, and the comment I made at the board table that night was this: unless you're a Native American, you are an immigrant. Every one of you in this room is an immigrant unless you are a Native American. Therefore, to not support people who are refugees, who are driven out of their homelands for war, for intolerance, for any other reason, is unacceptable to me. And I absolutely voted in favor of welcoming cities, and I would vote again. That vote that night was not about welcoming cities. That vote that night was about Syrian refugees and whether or not we should take the women and the children and the people that were cast aside. And I said, absolutely yes, I would take them in a second, and I would do it again and again and again.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
Hi. Well, I was one of the 3 people that voted to become a welcoming community and stood up to a room full of screaming, yelling, angry, fearful people. I am in total support of becoming a welcoming community. We have always been a welcoming community, and as Dr. Rosenberg has stated, unless you are American Indian, everyone has come from somewhere else. I feel that if we did not move forward and vote for this, we would be sending a horrible message about West Bloomfield Township residents.
Thank you, Mr. Warshay.
Well, my grandparents, of course, were immigrants to this country as well. Soon after my father was born, his parents actually took him to Israel, where my grandfather died. My grandmother returned with him, so he, as I've heard for my whole life, has been an immigrant twice. I strongly support welcoming cities. Immigration has been shown to be a benefit to the economy in countless economic studies as well. They bring a richness to our land. It seems that every group wants to slam the door after they get here. I'm opposed to that. And something I'd like to see the township do is perhaps have a welcome kit to all new residents to advise them of all the services as well as business opportunities available in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Mr. Manna. What is your stand on land use? And it has 2 sections, business and housing, and preserving and expanding parks, including saving wetlands.
Well, I've got 2 members of the Parks Commission right here, so I'm sure they'll answer that better than I will. However, in terms of land use, I think there has to be a balance. As a developer and a broker for the last 28 years, I've had a ton of experience in seeing developments from raw land all the way to a finished subdivision or condominium project. And there has to be a balance. So in terms of areas where we have a very large parcel, depending on acreage, if there's some wetlands and woodlands that are part of that, there has to be a balance for all to enjoy. There has to be sidewalks in certain communities. This community, in a lot of our projects, unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity of sidewalks. But so other than that, the parks that we have in West Bloomfield Township are many, and I'm very happy to say that I'm one of the people that gets to enjoy our parks in this township.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you. Tomorrow night and every night on Wednesday night, Marshbank Park is having a concert series. It's free to the public. It's a wonderful place. It starts at 7 o'clock, and you should all attend because it's a great event. Those are some of the things that Parks does. We have the best park and rec system in the world here. Marshbank is a jewel. Drake Park is a jewel. It raises your land values. It raises everybody's ship. In terms of land use, we have the toughest. Developers complain about this, and I'm very happy that they do. The toughest stormwater management, the toughest woodlands, the toughest wetlands development. But if you look at our area, we are beautiful. When everybody else flooded 2 years ago, we didn't flood. We control our environment, and we control how it looks. We know exactly what we do. The Planning Commission does a good job, Parks and Rec Commission does a good job, and the board supports both those groups.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
Boy, it's very hard to be next to Dr. Rosenberg.
I take exception to that.
Okay. As liaison to the Board of Trustees for the Environmental Board, I see devastation. I see after-the-fact violations. People move to West Bloomfield for our beauty, for our parks, for our recreational facilities, for our wetlands, for our woodlands. I'm a strong believer in preserving every tree that needs to be left, every piece of wetland that needs for our wildlife. Building, if I've been opposed to a lot of building in our township because I feel there is no affordable housing left here, and I am opposed to destroying our wetlands and woodlands.
Thank you, Mr. Warshay.
For existing homes and businesses, we want them to be attractive and well-maintained. Development has to observe our regulations to protect our wetlands and woodlands. And we should work with builders and developers so that their work enhances the natural beauty of our township.
Thank you. Mr. Karmo.
With regard to business and housing, the reason these are issues coming up is because the township has changed a lot over the last 10 years. And, it's for the better, and there are people that might not like the change. But the fact of the matter is people have raised families here, and they've decided to stay here. They didn't move to Florida. They didn't move to Birmingham. They like West Bloomfield. But that being said, the demographics have changed in a way due to age, due to new families coming in, and I think that new developments, we're going to see new developments in the area of senior housing and more living in that kind of direction. Regarding maintaining parks and expanding them, again, as your Parks Commissioner, we hired a new director last year who put a specific emphasis on conservation. We've spent a lot of time in the last year with our new director conserving our parks, and now as a head of the strategic plan, reviewing how we can change our parks to address future needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Mr. Rosenberg. What do you think is the most important issue facing the Board of Trustees of West Bloomfield Township?
I think that there's three issues that are facing the board: community, cooperation, and complacency. First of all, the job of a trustee is to solve neighborhood problems. If each neighborhood and business have their concerns and problems met, then you're doing your job. Secondly, cooperation. When the town board cooperates, all problems are solved rather than created. I've worked really hard to cooperate with my colleagues. I've done everything I possibly could to work together with them, and I pledge that I will continue to do so. And the third thing is complacency. Having negotiated labor committees, cut non-essential budget items, eliminated retiree health care and legacy costs, we've controlled our costs, but I promise I will not allow us to become complacent. We must be vigilant and continue to manage our costs and expenses correctly.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
Could you repeat the question for me, please?
Certainly. What do you think are the most important issues facing the Board of Trustees of West Bloomfield?
Communication, number one. We sometimes have a hard time communicating between each other, which is not bad. It's a 7-person board for a reason, so that we get 7 different outlooks on items. Pleasing, often some of our votes are very, very hard, and it's hard to listen to a room full of screaming people sometimes and know that your vote is not going to make them happy. But our job is, yes, to do many things, but we have to do what's in the best interest of the entire township, not just a group.
Thank you. Mr. Warshay.
I think working together effectively as a board is very important. There's a divisiveness that is constantly discussed, reported in the news, and while difference of opinion is always expected, divisiveness is not appropriate. So I think that's one issue. I think the financial issues that Trustee Rosenberg alluded to are also very important. The township is limited into how much its revenue can grow, and the state is not kicking in more money, so we have to be more creative in ways of finding grants or revenues from other sources. And then the last issue, I would say, is traffic in our roads. There's a lot of congestion. If you go down 14 Mile or Maple, especially during construction, it's quite unpleasant, and I'd like to see what we can do about alleviating that.
Thank you, Mr. Karmo.
For me, the biggest issue facing the Township Board is the amount of dysfunction happening on the Township Board. And that isn't just bad on paper or in the newspaper. It also causes the loss of department heads and lawsuits and infighting, and it costs us money in the end. And that's unfair to the residents of West Bloomfield. I'm running for trustee. Trustee, the name implies to be entrusted with something. I want to be the township's guardian. I want to be the people's guardian. And if you entrust me with that role, I promise you, I will never allow the personal problems to get in the way of conducting township business. And if for one moment that happens, please do not reelect me. I won't even run again. I have been serving for a long time, the last 4 years on the Parks and Rec Board, and we have a very diverse group of people, politically, ethnically, religiously, and we all can work together really very well, and I hope to bring that to the current Township Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manna.
I have 2 parts of my answer to our township issues. Several of our board members and people running for office have brought up the same issue of having a dysfunctional board. And I think talk is cheap. So in my family, I'm known as the peacemaker. So I had an issue just recently with one of my signs with Mr. Warshay, but I gave him a call, and we were able to work it out. And we said, let's work together. And we both shared that sentiment. I plan on doing that with everybody on the board. I plan on getting along with everybody on the board. And if we don't get along, then we're going to talk about it. Let's communicate. Let's take a time out and discuss it and figure it out so that we can all get along. I'd like to see a 7-0 vote every chance I can. Furthermore, the second issue that I see is micromanaging the different parts of our township. I think a lot of our township employees are scared to death to make decisions because as a part-time trustee, I don't want to be everybody's boss. I think we have 3 members of the board that should be in charge of the township and not necessarily the trustees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Schwimmer, and it will sort of go along to the answers given in this last question. What role will you take to bring back civility to the township board?
Well, I was told not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I am the quiet one on the board. I am the listener. I speak out when I need to speak out. I will be a mother lioness and protect our residents and our tax dollars till my very last breath. I just think that there are some internal issues that need not be brought to the board table, that should be discussed before the board meetings and not discussed there.
Thank you. Mr. Warshay.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you can express your viewpoint and disagree with the other's views without being angry or divisive. So that's really the main issue, is that don't engage if someone else starts. I would stick to my guns, but I don't have to respond in kind. And I certainly don't have to start anything either.
Thank you. Mr. Karmo.
I feel like I'm in elementary school and we're talking about why we shouldn't fight with our friends. It's unfortunate, but it's reality, and that's fine. I believe that when you treat people respectfully, when you disagree, and you can still keep that separate from your personal life, and I know I'm able to do that on the Parks and Rec Board. I've been able to do that just on this campaign, meeting so many people, running against each other, and still able to keep it civilized with everyone. And I hope to bring that with me to the Township Board.
Thank you. Mr. Manna.
Well, I think it's been said over and over again, but communication is key. I think it's important that we live by the golden rule, and we can disagree and respectfully respect each other at the same time. No personal attacks. So I really think that things can be worked out with communication and, again, living by the golden rule.
And Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you. Look, let's be clear. Democracy is messy. It's not neat. It's not tidy. This is where we live. We live in a democracy where we have vigorous debate. If you confuse vigorous debate with incivility, then we have a problem. We've had vigorous debate on the board. I expect to continue to have vigorous debate. I know that there have been many times when my colleague, Mr. Kaplan, have sat next to me, and he and I have disagreed tremendously, and we've had vigorous debate. I never believe that we've been uncivil to each other. So there's a difference between being mean and uncivil and having vigorous debate. And I believe in vigorous debate. I believe that we should air our differences. Now, while it would be nice to have a 7-0 vote all the time, that's not possible because we all have differences. And so what we have to do is we have to vote, have the debate, vote, and then honor the vote once it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Warshay. And this is a scenario, and I'm going to try to read it the best I can. As a trustee, you discover that a department appears to have problems servicing residents with accents, different skin color, or different religions. What would you do to solve this?
Well, I think the first thing is, since our departments are going to come under one of the 3 full-time officials, so I think that's where we start first with that official. We don't want trustees circumventing, especially off the bat. That would be just undermining their authority. I think then it's really going to be very fact-based where it goes from there. The other thing is this something for our diversity committee to consider? And if it is, perhaps it would be referred to them. Without anything more, it's really hard to say how to go further.
Thank you. Mr. Karmo.
Jerry, do you mind repeating the question for me?
As a trustee, you discover that a department in the township appears to have problems servicing residents with accents, different skin colors, or different religions. What would you do?
So this is a hypothetical.
Scenario is the word at the top.
Scenario, thank you. If I discover that a department has problems serving people with accents due to the color of their skin or their disability, that department head needs to go. there needs to be accountability. That's absolutely unacceptable in a township, any township, especially in West Bloomfield. I hope we would never allow something like that to continue to take place.
Thank you. Mr. Manna.
Well, thank you. I would do two things. One, I would immediately take that to my supervisor and report it and get all the facts and make sure that that was indeed happening. And then I would bring it up to all of my fellow board members to say some type of action needs to be taken on this. I'm looking at you again. So, thank you.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you. Well, actually, we had a problem like this occur, and we have a process in place, and it worked very well. There was a complaint. The complaint moved through certain proper channels. The complainant, the people that were involved, everybody had their due process protected. Everybody was calm. Nobody went crazy over it. We solved the problem to the satisfaction of everybody. The appropriate discipline was meted out. The appropriate corrective action was taken care of. Everybody was satisfied with it. It never made any newspaper. We handled it properly with the right amount of sensitivity, and I believe that process to this day continues. And in the 8 years that I've been on the board, that's the only issue that we ever had.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
I hate to do this to you again, but I need you to read the question.
As a trustee, you discover that a department in the township appears to have problems servicing residents.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm
good with that.
Okay.
As a trustee, we are not the directors of every department. We are one of 7 on a board. So if a department is having trouble, they need to use the chain of command. They need to go to their supervisor, and if that doesn't work, they need to go up the ladder to the person in charge. If it is brought to the board of trustees, then we did have the problem, and as Dr. Rosenberg stated, we did handle it and handled it appropriately, and I believe everyone else was happy, all the departments, employees. But that is not a trustee job to handle what's going on in individual departments.
Thank you. Let's give you an easy one for a bit.
Mr. Wish.
What is? I'm sorry.
No, I went first.
That was my fault.
Yeah, you went. Next, we'll start with Mr. Karmo. What is your position on the 4-county rapid transit millage? What role does a modern regional transit system play in the economic and social health of the region?
Well, I think one of the things that's been lacking in Southeast Michigan has been a unified transit system. I know there are concerns with how much it's going to cost and what it's going to cost the township, but I think to be able to look at it with a conservative eye and see that it's bringing the benefits that it promises to the community, and again, if all the surrounding communities are benefiting from it and we opt out, we only stand to lose. So I'm inclined to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Manna.
I've always seen mass transit as a challenge for the suburbs. The M1 rail, for example, that's being built in downtown Detroit from the boulevard to downtown makes all the sense in the world. Detroit's on a big resurgence and coming back, and it's great to have a huge population within a small area. In terms of the suburbs, if you look, for example, at the buses that go back and forth, I would say they're 80 to 90% empty. So as Dr. Rosenberg mentioned earlier about being savvy and conscious regarding our spending, I think that's extremely important and doesn't make any sense to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg.
I support rapid transit. I think that we've missed out for many years. Any opportunity we get to help move people back and forth is a good idea. I think the M1 Rail is going to be a great economic boon to every station within a half a mile of where it stops, all the way from 8 Mile down to downtown. I think that we need more lines going east and west and more lines going north and south. I think that if you look at towns like Seattle that are building out and building more stations and more rapid transit, their property values are increasing tremendously, their workflow is increasing tremendously. We only have a limited amount of ability, so it's important for us to find a way to move people more so than just with automobiles.
Thank you, Ms. Schwimmer.
I'm in support of rapid transit. I'm also in support. I need to know more details. I need to know the cost. I need to know the cost to the residents, where this is going to go. Are we going to be removing homes or destroying our roads? And I need to know more about that subject before I would vote on that.
Thank you, Mr. Warshay.
I've been a strong proponent of mass transit for many years. Trustee Rosenberg said a lot of what I was going to say, but one thing I will say is that it not only benefits our residents for trying to get to places, but it benefits our businesses because it increases the pool of workers who can get to their jobs here in West Bloomfield. So it's an overall benefit to the economy.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Manna. What are your thoughts on code enforcement and property maintenance?
West Bloomfield, again, back to my career in real estate, West Bloomfield has kept a very high real estate value. And the reason it's done so, in part, is code enforcement does a phenomenal job of making sure that how we don't have blight. I don't know of any blight that we may have, and they do a great job of ensuring that there are no issues. And thanks to, mostly in part, to our residents who call in any issues and that are responded to in a very quick manner. So thank you.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you. So our board in the past 8 years have passed a number of ordinances in terms of maintaining property maintenance, blight, inspections for apartment buildings, various other things that was in response to the downturn in 2008. If you look around, you see very little blight. If you look around, you see very few inappropriate signages or other things because we have strong code enforcement. We have strong code enforcement for signs. We have strong code enforcement for neighborhoods. We have strong code enforcement for mowing lawns. We will take care of those issues if you call our code enforcement. I think that's another thing that provides service to the community and it will help to increase and maintain our property values.
Ms. Schwimmer.
Again, we have a fantastic code enforcement department. I know that many of my neighbors have complained to me about it, and I've had to explain to them that they are out doing their job, keeping blight from littering, making our township look horrible. I have a neighbor that was upset because his stack of wood was not piled 18 inches off the ground and was written a ticket for it. There is a reason for all. I think they do a great job, and that's really, Howard has said just about everything I was going to say, so
Thank
I'm
you,
done.
Mr. Warshay.
It's important to maintain the appearance and safety of our community. So with that, the only other thing I'd say is that the rules have to be applied fairly and equally to all.
Mr. Karmo.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Mr. Warshay just said. I do think that's important. Code enforcement obviously has its benefits and it's important to the community, but also it shouldn't be imposed in a legalistic fashion. Government is ultimately about service to the community, service to the people, not just about imposing rules and issuing fines. So working in a way collaboratively with residents and the community to have the help them comply with codes and possibly review codes when they seem irrational. That's my opinion on that.
This will be the last question, and it may be able to be answered in a yes or no. Because this is a political and a party position, have you ever voted or been associated with the opposite political party other than the one you now represent?
You should ask, have you ever now or ever been part of a communist party? I mean, that question is, I consider that question inappropriate. Let me answer it this way. In my opinion, township boards should not be partisan. Township boards should be nonpartisan the same way cities are nonpartisan. I would prefer a nonpartisan board. As it is, the state controls whether we're partisan or not. So therefore, I think it's inappropriate to ask a question whether I would work with a Republican or a Democrat. In my opinion, there is no Democratic or Republican issues on this local level. And the problem is that what we should do on a national level is work more closely with the people on the opposite side of the aisle. I can work with anybody in a reasonable and responsible manner. I will work with Republicans, Libertarians, Green Party, you name it, even communists.
You heard it here, folks.
Ms. Schwimmer. Ms. Schwimmer.
The answer is no.
Mr. Warshay.
I have not served as a Republican, but I agree with everything that Trustee Rosenberg just said.
Thank you. Mr. Karmo.
The answer is yes. I have supported Democrats who've supported my community. I'm running as a Republican, as you can see. And again, I want to echo Dr. Rosenberg's sentiments. I'm on a board, Parks and Rec. I'm the only Republican on the board. There's seven other commissioners. It's never been an issue. Ultimately, I don't think the kind of issues we deal with matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They matter whether or not you have the best interests of the community in mind, and it shouldn't matter if you're red or blue or a donkey or an elephant.
Mr. Manna.
Thank you, and my answer is all of the above. Yes, I'd like to work with everybody, and I plan on working with everybody, and I echo what Dr. Rosenberg said, and I echo what Paul Karmo said, and I've supported our senators who are both Democrats right now, and I've supported independents, and I've supported Republicans. So yes to all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with our closing remarks with Mr. Warshay.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. I'm asking for your vote on August 2nd. I'm not a flashy guy. I don't favor style over substance. I do put people before politics. I'll be reasonable and professional and take responsibility for my mistakes. I know there'll be disagreements with other board members, but I'll accept it if I don't win on a particular issue. Our residents want that. They want us to move on and take care of business. I will fight for our taxpayers, but not engage in personal attacks against other officials. The voters have to ask themselves, what do they want from their board? My history of community involvement and my background makes me the right choice to serve the needs of West Bloomfield. That is why I'm running.
Thank you. Ms. Schwimmer.
First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It was very kind of you. If reelected, I would be extremely honored. I will continue to be committed to our beautiful and diverse township and always vote in the best interest of our residents, as well as I will continue to keep the township spending under control. I will treat all residents with respect. I will protect our quality of life with strong public safety, parks, and a library system. I would be honored for your vote on August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you. Again, thanks to Jerry and Ms. Bateman and the League of Women Voters.
It's now 8:50 and the library will be closing in 10 minutes. If you have bills to check out, please use the self-checkout machine in your area. If you have projects to
Attention, Kmart shoppers. Okay.
You can finish.
Again, thank you, everybody, including the library. As I mentioned, I have served the residents well in the past. As a member of the Labor Committee, I led the effort to control legacy costs in our pension programs with our employees. As the chair of the Town Center Task Force, I led the effort to create a new zoning regulations and design standards for the Maple Orchard Lake corridor, and this is going to lead to a world-class regional business district. I've been respectful and responsive board member and pledge to continue to act as your representative. I will be vigilant in continuing to manage our costs and expenses, and I will always consider the needs of the community when voting at the board meetings. Thank you for your support and your vote.
Mr. Manna.
I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for giving me this opportunity to speak with you tonight. You have a choice to make on August 2nd. If you want to add diversity to this board, then vote for Jim Manna. I want to be your choice. I care about this community. I care about senior citizens. I care about proper planning for the Orchard Lake corridor. And I care about promoting a harmonious relationship at Town Hall. I hope to see you on August 2nd, and thank you very much.
Mr. Karmo.
I want to thank, first of all, the League of Women Voters. I appreciate this opportunity to reach out to the voters in this way and for you for informing the public. One issue I'm going to cut into my closing statement time a little bit. I want to talk about an issue we haven't talked about very much tonight, and that is the largest growing demographic in the township, and that's the elderly. And on Parks and Rec, we have made a move, and as head of the Strategic Plan Committee, we are moving towards addressing the needs of this demographic within the community. We're looking at possibly establishing a center where seniors can gather, and also we provide the service with the Smart Bus, as was mentioned earlier. We're going to see more seniors staying here, and we need to address many of their concerns. Again, this is not about running as a Republican or as a Democrat. There are 4 trustees you can vote for. I hope to be one of them. I promise you that if I'm elected, I will have no personal favoritism towards any party, towards any group, towards any special interest. The only special interest to me are the people of West Bloomfield if you elect me, Paul Karmo, Township Trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, the candidates, and Civic Center TV for making this forum possible. For further nonpartisan information on the candidates, check the League of Women Voters website, LWVOA, and look at our voter guide. Rebroadcast time will be posted on Civic Center TV's schedule. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned citizens and businesses. Membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. Don't forget to vote August 2nd, 2016. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you and good night.